Back to the channel, and ni hao to all my Chinese subscribers. Today it's time to look at the WZ-120, which is a Tier 9 medium tank from the Chinese branch, and what I'll be primarily comparing it against is the T-54, maybe the Leopard prototype a little bit, but primarily against the T-54 since it's kind of the same looks-wise, and it's based on the T-54 anyway. So immediately you'll be able to tell that it's got exactly the same hit points as a T-54. It is a couple tons heavier, but it also has 100 less horsepower. So the horsepower per ton is only around, what, like 16 compared to almost 20 with the T-54. So acceleration and that kind of stuff is a little bit more lethargic compared to the T-54. You've got 56 top speed, which is exactly the same, and 46 traverse, which is slightly slower. You've got 100 for the upper plate, which is 20 worse than the T-54, unfortunately. And you've got 80 in the size, which is not really much good for anything, and 45 in the back, so good luck with that. One of the strongest elements of the WZ-120 is the turret. It is a fortress. It's really damn strong. If you can roll back and forth a little bit and make the hatches hard to hit, it's one of the toughest turrets to crack from the front, from what I've been able to tell in the game. And I'll be showing that off in the replay. The sides are also pretty damn strong, and there's a bit of sloping to them, so you can look at bouncing stuff from the sides even, but the back has virtually nothing, so don't get shot in the back of the turret. But if you're getting shot in the back of the turret, then you're probably dead or doing something really wrong. The next thing we'll take a look at is the turret traverse, which is 42, which is again slightly slower than the T-54. And unfortunately, the WZ-120 hasn't made its transition into HDness yet, but hopefully in the future it will be. You've got a 390 view range, which is fairly competitive, exactly the same as the T-54, and you've got decent radio. Next, the gun selection. You've got a few different guns you can pick from. You've got the same gun that carries over from the 110, which is this 60 to 110 100mm gun. It's honestly okay as a stopgap measure gun, but it's not something you want to keep using. I almost immediately want to get to the 122mm 60 122T gun. I really like this gun, and it's the gun that I would recommend using on this tank. So you got a rate of fire of 5, so you've got about a 10-second reload. You've got 250 pen with 340 heat pen, but if the upcoming penetration nerfs do roll through on this tank, look for this to drop into the low 240s to 235-ish range, and the heat rounds to probably drop to 310 to 320 because they lobbed off a bunch of those. So look out for that, but they're not going to touch any of your damage, which is great, which means you've got 440, which is 100 more than the T-54. So if you can roll around, like around corners and side scrape a little bit and punch people and then roll back, it's almost like having a medium heavy tank because of how hard the tank can hit. But if you get into a dogfight with a T-54, you're going to have a little bit more problems keeping up because he can shoot a lot quicker and he's going to DPM you faster. So you don't necessarily want to dogfight with a T-54. The dispersion is 0.38, which isn't awful bad, but it's not great either. It's not as good as the T-54, which is 0.35, and your aim time is really bad. And another thing that you want to take into account is that the reticle blooms a lot, like it's the size of Wargaming's quarterly profit margins. Like, the aiming reticle is huge when you move the hull of the tank, and you honestly don't shoot well in the move either. So you want to stop, you want to aim your shots, and you want to put as many modules and crew skills on that try and drag that number down from 0.34 as you can. So to try and eliminate that flaw in the tank, you want to take vertical stabilizer for sure. 100% you want one of these on this tank. The next module to try and help everything is vents. That will also help with everything. And to aim, or not aim quicker, but load quicker, you want to end up taking the rammer. So this is what I would recommend as far as loadout. You could alternatively throw on coated optics, but this thing is in a sniping tank anyway, so I wouldn't do that. The crew skills I've taken, and this crew has actually started off in this tank. so they're not an amazing crew by any stretch of the imagination. They have Sixth Sense and Snapshot, so when you're turning the turret, you have better as far as the spread on your aim reticle. And I take Smooth Ride because when you're moving, this also helps with the spread. And then a little bit of repairs because you need repairs if you get tracked, because you get tracked out in the open, you die. And as far as the next crew skills I would probably take more repairs, and I would probably end up taking off-road driving, and then it would take Brothers in Arms, or just redo everything and put Brothers in Arms first if I ever got to 3 crew skills on the tank, which I probably will at some point. And I'm fairly far into the WZ-120. I'm about 120,000 EXP as of right now into it, so I've only got probably about 60,000 more to go to get to the 121. Yeah, which is at 180, which is nice because when you look at the STB, it's sitting at like 250,000. The Leopard 1 is at 220. So going from the WZ-120 all the way up to the 121 is actually quite nice that way. You don't have anywhere near as much to actually get there. Unfortunately, it's not really used as much in Clan Wars. It's kind of got a stigma that, oh, it's not a good tank, but I'm not really buy any of that bullshit. Like, if you're good in a tank, you're good in a tank. It doesn't matter if the tank is on paper not as good as what other people deem it to be. So, honestly, this is going to be a tank that the WZ is a tank I'm going to keep. The 121 is a tank that I will be getting, and I've seen other people drive it, especially Mr. Falkos, who doesn't do videos anymore, but he really liked the 121, so I'm looking forward to the 121 as well. As far as ammo goes, I do end up rolling out with quite a lot of heat because sometimes I got to play this tank as a heavy tank just because the gun depression, which is the last thing that's really, really bad about the tank, is only like -3 or -4. It's really, really, really bad. And you just want to get in areas where you can stay flat or you can shoot up at people. But even the gun elevation is bad. So you want to try and get on flat ground or go to cities and or train tracks, or just avoid anything hilly or where you can see lots of rocks and things like that. Big problem with the gun and the tank in general. But yeah, I carry quite a lot of heat rounds, and honestly, I don't mind being a heat spamming whore in the WZ-120, much like the T-54, which is a heat spamming specialty. But if you're going to shoot at medium tanks and light tanks and tank destroyers, the not heavily armored ones, the normal pen for the gun is good, but if it does drop to 235, it will be less competitive than it currently is. And that's it. We're going to jump into the game, and you can see what it's like when it's fighting it out against some heavy tanks. Alrighty, in this replay, we are on Fjords, and this is a map I personally hate. So there's only a few places where I would actually want to take this tank, and that is not up north, it's not in the middle. It is down here and pretending I'm a heavy tank because there's a big bump in the ground where I can get pretty much 100% hull down, where they can't shoot my hull, and they only have my turret to shoot at. And the tank is more than quick enough to get there, so that's what I'm going to do. Now, looking at the enemy team, we have an enemy platoon of Click players who are in an E75, 2 IS-8s, and there's also a Lion that's going to come down to this corner. So, now, pay attention. This is what they get to see from my tank, which is, like, not very much. They get to see, like, my turret. And I'm going to be rolling back and forth, so I'm going to be hard to hit. So I roll up, stop, and you can see when I'm on the far right side of here that I'm just testing what they can see, and it's not very much. So we're going to wait for them to come up. And unfortunately, the T-30 wouldn't listen to me, and he decided he was going to roll up and try and fight with these guys. And it didn't really pay off for him, and he ends up dying because I'm not moving out of this position. He didn't want to try and come over here and get minorly hull down. He didn't use any of his gun depression either. So this T-30 driver beside me, not the smartest cookie. One thing that I did ask my team to do was to set up a tank destroyer at the beginning of the game over here. So hats off to the ISU player that did take his tank over there, Nolandel, and the ISU 152. What putting tanks there does is it creates a crossfire, and it stops them from being able to pulling into here and getting my side and being able to rush me, because he's going to have an 800 damage gun that is going to be able to pound through the sides of these tanks. And the IS-8 and the E75, they're not bad from the side, but they're, compared to what pen that tank has, like, that's what I wanted, and that's what I got. So I got really lucky that I had a guy who actually did listen and went over there. we're just going to watch the T-30 roll in and out here and take more and more damage. And eventually I did have a Super Pershing also come up and give me a hand. But the Super Pershing's really slow, so I didn't expect him to be there right away. And I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. And you do notice on the team that we don't have any heavy tanks. The closest thing we have to a heavy tank is the Super Pershing. And I'm here, and I can't afford to not be penning any shots, so I've loaded heat because I know I'm going to be running into all their heavy tanks, and they're going to be concentrated together in their platoon. And our T-30 is now down to 400, and I've got to start putting damage really quickly into this IS-8 because he doesn't have a shot at me, and he is going to take shot at T-30 instead, which is smart. And I'm rolling back and forth now. Put another shot into the IS-8. You can see that shot bounced off my hatch. He broke my observation device, which is fine. And this IS-8 didn't really seem to have a repair crew because he sat there for a really long time. And he got permatracked there by something. And wait for it. I'm going to reload again. And hammer him again. Really low roll of 377. Now the E75, this is where the ISU comes in. He is going to come forward in a second, but I've broken his engine by shooting him in the lower plate right here. And me rolling back and forth makes me a harder and more annoying target to hit. And that is the only actual damage I'm going to take in the game from anybody because of me rolling back and forth and being annoying to hit and having the strong turret. So the ISU puts a massive shot into the E75, so ambush ended up working out really well. Optics are repaired. I'm going to put one more shot into that guy. Nope, he's going to back off around the corner, so I will change my target and go straight through the upper plate on the Lion. Now the Super Pershing is also dropping down, and he is now hull down as well. So these guys have been beat to hell, and the Super Pershing takes a big hit there from the IS-8. So he's down to 243, but I have the hit points, so what I want to do is just damage these guys as much as I can. He didn't aim very well, the Lion, on that last shot. And I got the hit points to deal with this, so I'm just going to roll around. I don't even care if I take hits now because the game's virtually over. Roll around. I'm going to take out the IS-8. I took a lot of damage there, but I didn't really particularly care that much. Now, World of Tanks physics are going to kind of screw me right now, and that's why we need to do physics wargaming right there, because of that kind of crap. And before I can get around to shoot at the Lion again, he dies. I could have been a bit more aggressive on getting over to him again, but I didn't really care too much because we'd won the game, and I managed to be the heavy tank that my team didn't really have. And rolling up on the T-20 prototype, I've loaded back into AP, and I was trying to shoot at his cheeks. I'm going to roll around, and I hit him, but it didn't go through. If I loaded heat, that probably would have done damage. So that's why it pays to just shoot heat all the time in medium tanks, because honestly, like, crap like that happens. So I've got AP round loaded against IS-8. Ends up tracking him, so he's going to sit there and take shots from everybody. So I got some assistance damage on that, which is pretty nice. Rolling up again, and I managed to not aim that one at all, but I managed to bounce off the tank. So the WZ-120 in this game ended up doing about 3,700 damage, and the turret and the rest of its armors ended up holding up for 1,400 as well. Actually, I lied earlier when I said this was the only damage I was going to take when I wasn't being an idiot, just driving out in front of them. But yeah, the armor ended up holding up really well, mostly because they only had my turret to shoot at. You can see where they were shooting, and there was a big bounce there. I think that was a Lion shot shooting right through the front of the upper plate. The upper plate on the WZ can block stuff, but it needs to be at like extreme angles where they don't have this whole part of your tank to shoot at. If they only have that, you might bounce some stuff, but it's definitely not as strong as the T-54. So we're going to roll into another match and see what this tank is like on, is it Live Oaks? Now we are back on Live Oaks, and we've gone back in time to 9.3. Back before they put in the accuracy nerf. That was really stupid. As you can see, the tank does not get affected by ramming WZ-131s, except for when you run into a pole. So, impressive. I wanted to shoot him really badly, actually. Le douche. This is before we had tank names on the map. It's like going back into the Dark Ages of World of Tanks. I actually have replays that go all the way back to 9.1, I think. There's a Type 64 to my right, doing some spottage. Going down into the water. And up. Nope. Gets killed by the VK. You can see the tank traverses fairly well. When it's in the water, it's pretty brutal. But that 434 is so sweet against the T-54. Now I gotta try and roll back enough. And the T-44, he stopped shooting at me, and he wants to shoot at the light tank, so that's fine with me. And I can shoot at either one, but I roll a massive 470 against the Object 416. And the T-44, he fires, he shoots, he misses, he bounces. I'm rolling really high right now, which is awesome. Do a little bit of face hug. I can go straight through his turret. And with 250 pen, like, you can just go through anywhere on this tank, and it's rad. And one more time. Kablooey! Enemy vehicle destroyed. Now that area was perfect for me because in the riverbed everything was flat. And I just wanted to wait there for a sec before the clickers eventually would fire at me. This is back in the days when I was part of the Lincoln group. Going across country, the WZ-120 does not move quite as well as the T-54, just because his engine power is a little bit lacking and it's a little bit heavier. But the STA-1 is going to find out exactly what it's like when he's going to get shot by a 122mm tank. And I probably could have been a lot more aggressive. I don't know why I was not just going on him right now. I would have taken a lot of damage, but the T-54E1 is here. And I'm going to stop, I'm going to shoot, I'm going to hit him, and I've taken a lot of damage, and then I get blocked by our idiot in the T-69. Don't drive up behind people. It's a dick thing to do. You can see the gun depression problems you have. The tank, I gotta go forward, I gotta go forward, I gotta go forward. And now I can finally shoot. Massive 463, I get clicked on. And then there's an STA, gotta turn my turret. So it's probably a good thing I just didn't go flying up over that hill in hindsight. And Mr. WZ is really beat up now. I've only got 315 hit points, so I can take a hit from the Pershing and a hit from the STA, but not two of them, only one. Now we had a heavy tank that was going back to base, and I was fairly confident that he was going to be able to deal with whatever was going on there. Stop, I'm going to aim, and I'm going to destroy the Pershing, and wasn't really too sure if that guy was going to get back, so I decided to start going back. And now the light tank has left the cap, and he's now coming down my way. And when you're on soft terrain, you can look at doing between like 40 and 50 pretty easily. We've racked up 2 kills, and by the end of this game, I'd end up doing 4,000 damage. And the armor actually held up quite well as well. It ended up soaking up about 2,000 worth of hits from mostly the T-44. And getting up on the tracks again, you can see that the gun depression isn't great. Coming around, and he's behind a hill, so I'm just going to keep driving. And this is one of the things that I like about medium tanks the most, is that you're never really stuck anywhere. You can get in there, and you can do some damage. IS-8 wasn't having a very good time of things. And gun depression bad, gun depression bad, gun depression bad. I take a shot from him. And I gotta be careful now because I know he can pen me. So, it's good not to die. He takes a big hit there though. And he got set on fire, but he had an auto extinguisher. So I'm just giving him my turret. Eventually he will try and pop up. So I take a big shot into him, end up taking him out, and that was my third kill. And as you can see, the aiming reticle is quite big, especially when you're moving the hull of the tank. So again, you want to be stopping and aiming your shots for the most part. You can shoot on the move if people are like within like 20 meters kind of thing, but if you don't, try and aim just a little bit, then there's a really, really, really big chance that your shot might go into the dirt or into the air and not exactly where you want it to go. So just in general, the strong points WZ-120 is it has a rad turret, it has a really strong gun, it does a lot of damage, and the mobility is pretty damn good. It's maybe not as fast and as all-around good of a tank as maybe the T-54 for every situation, but it doesn't have too many downsides. Like the gun depression is terrible, and the hull isn't that super strong. But if you can get by some of the shortcomings of the tank, it is a lot of fun, and it looks pretty cool. And the people don't expect to take 300 or 470 damage from you when you're going to roll around and put a shot into them. Plus, the heat rounds make you really competitive against virtually everything else if you know where to shoot. So I recommend the WZ-120. I think it's a lot of fun, and you can wolf pack around. It's a really good tank to wolf pack with other medium tanks with, because you can go in there and hit people, and they're not necessarily just going to be keying back just on you, and you're just not going to have the DPM problems that you would have if you try and do things solo. So go out there. Like I went through to get this line through the light tank versions, like the 131 and the 132. Alternatively, you can go through the medium tank line with the T-34-1 and T-34-2. I don't really recommend those tanks. They have artificially long aim times that I'm not entirely sure why they have. Like all the other tier 7 medium tanks have 2.3 aim times, but for some reason the Chinese tanks that do exactly the same damage, they get screwed basically. They get pooched by Wargaming for whatever reason. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe just hate the Chinese or whatnot, but I really don't really find... I did okay in the T-34-1, but it's one of those tanks where it really, really makes you angry when you have a 2.9 aim time when you're not entirely sure why. Yeah, it's one of the two caveats of those two tanks that I really hate, and 2.9 on a medium tank is bad when you're not going to be doing more damage. Like if they had the 110s gun, then it'd be more fine. Like that'd be okay. You got 210 pen and 330 damage. It'd be kind of like a WZ-120 at tier 7 and 8, but well, at tier 8 anyway. But this tank is very unique in the fact that it has the damage capability and it's one-shotting. You can also ammo rack people quite easily and cause a lot of module damage. HE is also a good viable round of ammunition to take as well because of the high caliber of the round. You can look at doing anywhere from like 50 to 200 damage to most tanks hitting with HE in the right spots. So WZ-120 is a pretty cool tank. I recommend going down this line through the light tanks, and the 121 has its place in the game, and I will be getting it shortly. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys out there on the battlefield. Ciao.